It's going to be really hard to spoil, but I don't know if people are keeping track of our teams. So I'm just going to say that it's mano y mano, baby. And we are geniuses as
You
well.
just spoil it immediately.
Fuck it. I don't care. There's so many people that come to our defense now in the comments that are like, I don't understand why you guys can't spoil it. We're listening to a recap of the episode. I get the one person that's like, can you not name the episode to spoil it?
Because that's fair.
That's fair. So we won't do that. But
I didn't even know you did that.
Once, and it was just like Danielle, like lover or hater, Danielle remains a traitor, and it's because it rhymed.
That's a really good title.
That's what I mean. So it's like, deal with it. But this is the Bachelor we're talking about today. Don't get confused. And it's mano y mano.
Mano y mano.
Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows. Bros and shows. Bros and shows. I gotta have me my bros and shows.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bros and Shows. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only, will you accept my goots?
I certainly will.
Oh, nice. Cool.
I certainly will.
Thanks, man.
Now and forever. I am not going to lie to you. The women tell-all in between the last episode and this confused the hell out of me because I forgot where we were when we got back.
Oh, not really for me.
I knew there were three left, but I'm like, who's left?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, completely forgot.
That's hysterical. I didn't have that. I forgot about the tell-all, to be honest with you, because it was such a nothing episode. But this is probably my favorite episode of the season thus far. And maybe it's just because it's like more invested at this point.
Well, we did last week spend, I think, the first 20 minutes of the episode talking about what we would change about The Bachelor.
20 minutes of the episode.
Oh, it was the entire episode. Yeah, okay. See, I even forgot about that. But when it comes to that, and after watching the tell-all last week and then watching this episode, good standalone episode.
Yeah, solid.
Yes, it's very fucking long, which I'm not going to keep going into.
Too long.
But it made a lot of sense because we know these women for the most part, except for poor Zoe, but we know them pretty well. We've seen them a lot, so we get to see them even more. We get to see how this is going to progress, who Grant's going to choose, so on and so forth and so forth. But I would say they should stop doing the tell-all when they do it.
I agree.
Last year, I know that last year was random because of the Devin situation with him being such an asshole.
But it worked.
But it worked so well. Why would you not do live audience for the finale? Here's an entire studio of people with all the women that Grant did not choose. 2 of them still in the Dominican watching all of this go down. And then we just get little clips here and there with little interjections. Because let's have it. Most of the times when this happens, the people, whether it's the women or the men for the Bachelor, Bachelorette, there's not a lot going on there that we need an hour and a half of them to discuss with these people.
No.
Let them just have reactions to what they're seeing on screen, and then we'll have like a little Q&A as we go through.
I think that would be the best way to do it. And it would make for
3 hours next week.
That's insane to me. And I do think it's a live audience. Like, don't they do that where they're watching, then they go to the live audience and check in, then they go back?
I think they do, but then
why do the tell? I mean, I get it. They're clearly trying to stretch it out to make money, and it's 2 live events versus 1, so it's more money.
Then it ends up being 9 weeks in total because this is week 8.
Or
is it 10? I guess it's probably 10 because tell-all is standalone.
Yeah, I guess it's 10. The format of the show no longer makes sense.
No.
And we did that last week, so you can listen to that episode instead. But it's like, it's long. We'll leave it there. We're not going to do this every episode.
It was long, but it felt shorter.
Because
if that makes any sense.
Well, I cared about each date.
Yeah.
Because you want to see how everyone's faring, especially because you and I I had 2 contestants going in. I have 1 now. But you want to see how your contestants are doing, and you also just want to watch the vibe of the date, try to figure out what's going to end up happening next week. So I was more invested this week.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
But there's still so much just like, don't need this scene, don't need that scene, don't need this scene, and whatever. I think that the product works. They need to reformat the product.
You know what we do need?
Jesse Palmer.
Jesse Palmer playing basketball.
Yeah.
I know he was playing golf for the rest of the time that Grant was on these dates.
Oh, definitely.
But we do need to see him playing basketball in the beginning.
Do you think he went, played a little Tooth of the Dog down there?
Yeah.
He had to have, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was probably there the whole time.
Uh-huh.
Bastard. I want that job. But let's get into it, because as you said, we're in the DR. We're in Punta Cana, which is actually where we went. You weren't there.
Wasn't there.
For our senior trip. Dev was there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me, Flannery, and then Dev and some of the other crew. But yeah, they said Punta Cana. I was like, ooh, Yay.
Been there.
Yeah, been there. We were 18 on our senior trip, and I was drunk for 7 days. It was legal down there.
Yeah.
I would wake up every morning. Flannery would get me, because, he wakes up with the ass crack of dawn
Yeah.
because he's an old man. He would get me a Bloody Mary every morning with 151 in it. That's how I'd start my day.
Way to start the day.
Eh,
Eh.
eh.
Gotta set you up in a weird place, but yeah.
It made for some interesting days. But yeah, anyway, we're in the DR, and you start out with a little shoot around with Palms and Grant. And this line was just comical. I had to write it down before you get to Juliana. He's like, putting a lot of pressure on this week. Probably should, man.
Think?
You probably should. It's kind of a big deal. You're supposed to get engaged at the end of this week.
Yeah.
So maybe put a lot of emphasis into this one.
Yeah.
The pressure, it should be pressure.
I do like, however, that he's putting a lot of pressure on himself,
Not the ladies.
not the ladies.
Yeah.
I guess that's a nice thing to do, but also like there should be some pressure on them. Not just them putting it on themselves, but like you should apply some pressure.
He's
to
very
figure out if you actually want to marry these women.
well. He's very agreeable with everybody. That's an
He's
interesting
too
point.
agreeable. And that's going to be his downfall.
Good point. He doesn't press, anything. But I get what he's doing. He's trying to make the ladies as comfortable as they can be.
Yeah.
And the other part with Grant versus bachelors I've heard of in the past or like seen clips of, he seems genuinely super duper nice.
Yeah.
And I don't
A
know if
little
that's,
tidbit of information we got about one of the other bachelors.
yeah, right? The dude that was like, I'm not going to.
Sex is off limits. Unless.
JK.
Yeah.
Like, Grant would never do
Well,
that.
that's like next week. If Grant says this, because he is so agreeable, I feel like it's gonna be. He's not gonna mean it in this way, but it's gonna make me laugh so hard. I wish I could just marry both of these women.
Yeah, but he,
Like,
but he,
but he would say that,
and he would genuinely
and then
mean it.
realize like, oh, I can't really do that.
Well, Mormons.
I know. That's what I was going to. Yeah. It's like,
Look,
can you?
If you're Mormon, we know that's just a
No.
fundamentalist. We know it's not
It's
you.
just an old wives' tale.
Yeah. Hey, zing. But anyway, let's get to Juliana. And obviously, she's nervous about the fantasy suites. I can't imagine what it would be like waiting for your turn to go on a date, knowing
Yeah.
that these dates are essentially set up to boink.
Mm-hmm.
They're boink dates. They're conjugal visits. We made it to conjugal visit week.
We did.
But she's obviously concerned about that, especially considering her last long-term relationship. What has led to this darkness that seems to surround her, according to her, is her ex-boyfriend cheated on her relentlessly for 7 years.
Yeah.
So she's got some scars, understandably so. And going into a week where it's like, yeah, he's got a hall pass, but it's still kind of cheating, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to label it.
It is so strange. These first 2 dates, the way they lined up and the things that happened immediately after sharing, like, hey, this is what I'm insecure about. Like, yeah. Actually, all 3 of them, when you throw in Litia, too. Hey, I'm insecure about this. Well, guess what we're going to do?
Fantasy suites. Let's press your buttons before you get engaged to the
Yeah.
man.
Zoe's was a little different, but I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I know. Zoe's was an interesting date, but they start out with, and this irritated me. And I'm sure if you're like a Bachelor, Bachelorette fan, to see some of the previous contestants come
Sure.
in, it's probably like, oh, wow, it's so-and-so. But the fact that they did this for each date,
Mm-hmm.
they had the
Setting up the-
conversation.
Bachelor in Paradise, I'm sure.
Maybe? Oh, is that they're going to be on Bachelor in Paradise?
Probably.
Well,
That
the
was
one-
my guess. And
I
there's
don't know, because the one, who was it? Daisy? Not Daisy.
none of them won.
No, the one, who was it at the end?
Oh,
What was
I
her
don't
name?
remember her name. Katie? No.
No,
Not because Katie first?
Katie was second. No, Katie was third.
Katie was third, yeah.
Katie, well, Litia says Katie and Zach's relationship. So I don't know if she was alluding to the relationship on the show or if they're still together.
I'm assuming, based off of that conversation, that Katie and Zach did not.
Well, I don't know because
Make
she
it.
said Katie and Zach's relationship. So maybe it meant during.
I think
the
she just
show.
meant during the show.
This is
yeah.
where I wish we had a little more.
'Cause
history.
the way that I was thinking about it, and I know the first 2 for a fact because it was Joey season.
Yeah,
And Joey, we know because we met Joey last
Correct.
week. He did not pick either of them.
right.
So I thought it was kind of funny that we're going to throw 3 losers out there.
Well,
Talk to the 3 contestants right now. Like, hey, this is what I did. Well, you lost.
But they're recent, right?
They're recent.
So
yeah.
that was 100%.
Yeah. So I think Joey's was the last Bachelor season.
Okay.
And then before that was, let's say, I think this is season 30 actually. So it's probably a season or 2 before was Katie with Zach.
Okay.
But still very funny to me that I'm like, we're the winners.
Yeah, we need.
How about we have the
to
winners
tell
come
us.
out and say, hey, this is how we handled it.
At least
the
one-
losers.
At least one winner.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, then you'd show favoritism.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. That's a good point. But she talks to Daisy and she says all the right things because she's like, opening up changed everything, and I have no regrets, not one letter. And Juliana needed to hear that. It gives her a little boost going into this date with Grant. The funniest part about Grant's dates is all three of them were pretty much non-conversational.
Yeah.
Which I felt bad when Zoe got to the silent yoga, but then I was like, well, you can't really talk when you're four-wheeling either, so that makes sense. Zip lining, you can't really talk.
Yeah, I don't think the silent yoga is so funny. Hey, here's a girl that we actually haven't had a one-on-one yet. We really need to get to know each other.
You can't talk.
Spend the first hour not chatting.
You're not allowed to speak.
Body language actually speaks louder.
Yep.
It doesn't.
No. Words.
Not in this situation. Words would go a long way for Zoe.
She needs to be able to speak.
And I don't think that Grant was really privy to what was going on. And I'm sure that the producers picked each date.
Oh, you
said
think?
hey, I don't think that they presented
He
him with
give him
three different dates.
and he's like, you
How
get to
fucked up is
choose.
that? Hey, we've got 3 dates out, even for the producers.
One's
we got
silent.
3 dates out here. One of them's silent. How about you go with Zoe? You've spent enough time with her.
Yeah, she hasn't spoken
know
at
what
all
she's
yet.
about. Yeah.
Like, what? That made no sense to me. But they go four-wheeling. They had matching shirts. Did you notice? Which is super cute. I don't know if that was on purpose, but they have a good time. We even get some cheesy lines from Grant. Life's a bumpy road.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, oh, the four-wheeler. Yeah, nice job, dude. But when they get to the bench, they're discussing things, and he's talking about his grandma passing away. She was from the DR, making him food after school, which I love. Dominican food. It's so goddamn good. The guys on my team used to make it. I would eat it all the time. So I got hungry there. I get hungry a lot watching shows now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't
do
either.
the same thing.
But it's hard for Juliana to open up. It has been pretty much the whole time. She's gotten close, and they've developed a relationship clearly despite all of that. But
Yeah, it's incredible that she's gotten this far.
Yeah.
She really hasn't opened up.
She hasn't talked
She's
about...
just been very pleasant.
She's been extremely pleasant.
Yeah.
She seems very nice, and she seems, to me at least, the most genuine of the entire season.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It feels real. And I know it's...
It actually does feel real. It seems like she's actually opening up at a reasonable amount.
Mhm.
It's not taking too long to open up. She's somewhat aware of what's going on the show, but I feel like she's actually true to herself, where the other 2 contestants here, I've got questions about.
I have questions as well. That's interesting you said that. You texted me something earlier, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I had that same
Yeah.
vibe. Interesting. But they're both falling for each other. But tonight's the night. You got to open up. Juliana's got to open up. We gotta hear more about what got her to this point, so that they can take the next step in their relationship. And we get to dinner, and she wants to open up tonight. So that's good. That's a good start.
Good time.
Yep, it's a good time to do that since you might be getting engaged next
Mhm.
week. So probably should talk about some of your past. And she does, and she gets emotional right out of the gate. And she's always worried about saying the right things, but she brings up these hard times, the cheating for 7 years. This dude would make promises and then he would break those promises. So going into this week is really tough because it's reflecting all of her negative insecurities that she has about relationships. So of course we should do conjugal visits this week just to see, just to really fuck her up a little bit. But
At least she got to go first.
I was so curious what your take on the order would be.
Oh, I have no idea.
What is it?
I can't figure it out.
Is it better to go first?
Or last.
Is it better to be in the middle? Probably not.
I don't know. I really don't
I
know.
feel like last is best. Only except the fact that you know that he boinked.
It just depends on the waiting aspect.
That's what I'm talking. Oh yeah.
Did Litia get there maybe a day after everybody? Or
No.
did they kind of stagger their arrivals?
No way.
You think that so she's sitting there waiting for a couple of days,
You can
knowing
see
that
him.
he's on the dates?
Yeah.
What do you mean you can see him?
Well, if she's
She
sitting in
looked
her
out the
room
window and just
stroll
watching them.
by,
Oh God!
You know what I mean?
Makes it even worse.
I'm not saying it's a fun time. I'm saying they definitely are probably all
ABC
there.
gets a block of rooms and they're all right next to each
Yeah,
other.
they're literally you hear the wall just
That can't be them.
That's definitely not.
It's got to be somebody else.
It's definitely certainly not them. Absolutely. Oh, Grant. Oh, damn it. There's plenty of Grants down here. There's a lot of Grants.
That's got to be Jesse.
Juliana. Damn it.
It's got to be Jesse Galvin in his room. Can't stop.
Jesse's watching film from the season.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. Don't listen. But I don't know what the better time to go would be. I thought going first would suck because then you have to sit
Get it
there
out of the way, and then
wait.
you're just sitting and waiting until
Yeah,
the end.
maybe the
I think
middle.
last is probably the best.
But then you also know you go into your date knowing you probably had sex with
We
two
can
other
agree
women.
that first is the worst.
First is definitely the worst.
I'm not positive about middle or end.
I feel like end is probably worse than middle because again, you're going into the date knowing he probably had sex with two women.
In the last 2 days.
Yes. in the last
That's
48
tough.
hours. That's really tough.
That's a tough performance by Grant too.
Good for maybe he's got a sponsor.
Maybe not. Maybe they're not boinking. We can, be somewhat wholesome here. Maybe they're just chatting.
Yeah,
deep
totally.
into the night.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are boinking, that's a lot of stamina.
Hey, good for him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a professional athlete. But anyway, we get back to the dinner. And as she's, opening up and crying and going through her feelings to Grant, I genuinely was like, wow, I think she's serious with all of this. I do think she's found somebody in Grant. And maybe it was the timing of it because she was so closed off and it's the first time she's opening up. Maybe it is that she's falling in love with Grant entirely. I'm not sure, but they do seem to have a real connection.
Well, I think it was a good balance of the show forced her to open up.
Yeah.
Like that's what she wanted to get from the show was to like cut loose, have a little bit of fun, try to get over her past traumas. And she also does like Grant, so she's having a good time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all very real.
Everything's falling into
Everything's
place.
falling into place for Juliana.
Interesting. Did The Bachelor actually find
Currently
love?
rooting for Juliana.
I appreciate that. I am too, because she's my last remaining team member. But the picture from the family party, there's no way that he brought that picture.
No.
It was still smooth
Yeah.
because she did look really happy. And it made me think about that night. I was like, you know what? That was a great night.
Yeah.
They really seemed to vibe that night. I liked
Bookmark in a book that he got from another Bachelor contestant from the last year.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
probably.
know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
That book.
Oh God.
Self-help book.
Self-help book from what was his name?
Oh God.
He was
I
the
don't remember.
pilot.
Yeah. He was
Oh,
the
that
asshole.
guy was
Tyler?
such a wiener. His brother
No.
was Noah. Is his brother? I know that.
Yeah.
Why?
Weirdly
I
enough.
don't know. Because I think
The
Noah
season that we didn't watch.
was well liked.
Yeah, I know.
His brother was not. His brother's a loser.
Yeah.
But yeah, he bailed early because of the pilot
The Air
school
Force
thing, and then he
Top
fucking
Gun.
ratted somebody out to Jen and ruined everything.
Yep.
That guy, I don't even remember his name. I don't want to remember his name actually at this point, but we get the letter. This little envelope that's pretty much, do you want to go have sex with me? Hands it to her.
Pretty much. I
And
like that it's addressed to both of them.
yeah, me too.
And Grant and Juliana. This is from Jesse.
Yeah, here's a key.
Grant knows what it says.
Here's a key
Yeah.
to go,
Yeah.
you guys know.
Yeah.
She says no brainer. He says this feels right. I said Grant smitten, Juliana smitten her. They get in the room and ooh, spicy.
Spicy.
Cutscene.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning. I have learned this in my 2 seasons of Bachelor and Bachelorette. The morning after tells you a whole lot.
I really hone in on the morning.
Me
after.
too, because how they act around each other is very important.
Yep.
Because it tends to be when there's a real connection, it's the most real that you see the two of them.
Right.
The conversations aren't so guarded. They're not trying to say all the right things. They're just hanging out because the awkwardness is gone.
Well, I will say we got 3 very different morning afters.
Extremely.
Right?
This one was
This
the most
one
intimate.
felt. Yeah, I agree with that because they were both in bed. They just kind of were hanging out, just still chatting, going through everything. The other 2 did not have the same feel. to
This vibe was very much like a girlfriend and boyfriend waking up and just like hanging out eating breakfast.
Yeah, and I think Juliana even said that, right?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I felt like when I woke up, it was somebody I was with for years.
I felt that way, and I was watching.
I
it at
felt
home.
that way,
You
too.
know what I mean? So it all vibed. It was a great date. She performed extremely well as far as opening up and everything like that. So she did what she had to do, put herself in great standing, and I think there's something here. I like these two together.
So she's a final contestant here.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we are spoiling. I forgot I already spoiled.
Oh,
it
well,
out the gate.
final 3.
Final 3. Wink. Guess what? Somebody gets voted off tonight. But yeah, they go their separate ways, so it's time to move on to Zoe. And you know what? Zoe's got to talk to someone who gets it. That's also what I don't like. Everyone said the same thing. I
know.
need to talk to somebody that gets it. Can we come
Somebody
up with
who's been
different
here
lines?
before, been here and done that.
Yeah. Oh, are we going to get another contestant? Oh, there she is. And we get Rachel, who was from Joey's season. And she, this is such a, probably not a great thing to share or have in
Yeah.
common. I also got no time with him, and I lost. Not great.
Really had to scour the roster for somebody else who
Yeah.
got no time
Who
but got
did-
to the end.
Who got to the final 3 without a one-on-one date? Oh,
Oh, just Rachel?
only
Okay,
Rachel.
cool.
Okay, sick. But what alarmed me, and I like Zoe a lot, but she's been extremely guarded the whole time. She always just seems to not be able to get over that hump a
Yeah.
little bit. What worried me is when she said, I could see myself falling in love with him.
Mhm.
I'm like, and it's probably no fault of your own. You didn't get the one-on-one date.
Yeah.
It feels, the minute she said that, I'm like, the other 2 are just so much further ahead in their
Mhm.
relationships than you are. Like, you're going to have to stun this date for you guys to be able to move to that place that Juliana's in. We know
Yeah.
Litia's in great standing. She has been the whole time.
Yeah, again, it's just I don't really understand how we got here, and obviously with Dina getting sent home the week prior because her family didn't show up, obviously that didn't really work out. But was Dina supposed to be here if her family was there? Like Zoe getting to this point, and we talked about it with like Juliana because Zoe kind of talks about it a little bit later. She seems like she's just opening up, but there was never really like a ton of sparks. It's kind of gradually getting there.
Yeah.
You can have that same question, how did Juliana get there? But then you get to Zoe and you're like, how are you actually here? It doesn't really make sense that Zoe's here at this point.
Here's what I think. One, if this was real life, I think those two make a lot of sense as they're going through. If this was like an actual, we're dating for a couple of months
Yeah.
and then we get into it, now we're really boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever labels. I don't know how
Could
you
be
do
that,
labels.
yeah.
I feel like they're very similar people as far as like how they operate, what they want. They line up really well together on paper.
Yeah.
Like you look at them side by side, like their dreams, aspirations, occupations, everything. It does make sense. It totally makes sense. But when you see them together, it's almost too polished.
Right.
And it's like we need some mess in here to really feel that click. Just
Yeah.
get the mess with like Juliana and Grant, just kind of like they cry together, whatever. They lovey dovey. With Litia, there's just like a real connection that came like, and we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah.
But like that came on hot and heavy, I think, and not from a sexual standpoint, obviously. But they just both seem to click really quickly. Whereas, again, I think Zoe making it this far is you look at them, make a list of pros and cons. She
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how she got here.
I think you can probably say that about all three of them, where you look at Zoe and it's like, this is somebody I would probably date in real life.
Right.
See how it goes. Juliana is somebody I would date on the show, and it's going really well, so she's here. And then Litia is what I guess, like,
What I
idealistically.
came into this looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so much family talk with that. We'll get there.
Yeah, we're going to get there for sure. But Zoe gets done her conversation feeling a little bit more optimistic, and we get to Grant and Zoe on their date. And again, she gets completely hosed because they go to a 1 hour of yoga with no talking.
With two of the biggest assholes I've ever seen on TV.
The yogis,
Yoga people.
The yogis were not thrilled.
Shh.
They weren't happy.
Yeah.
They weren't happy about
Shut
the
up,
giggling and things like
librarians.
that. But I liked this. I mean, it was
I thought it was funny. I thought that it was just like what you said, that this is a girl that he would probably date in the real world. He was doing his best, and this is why I don't think that he picked these dates for each individual person. He felt bad.
He was trying to get
He
something.
knows, like, this conversation was, we didn't really have any one-on-one, so I'm really looking forward to opening up. Okay, we're going to go do silent yoga for an hour. And as soon as it started, he's just trying to clown around a little bit.
Like, make her laugh.
Trying to make her laugh, trying to open up, because he feels bad. Like,
Yeah.
ugh, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, I agree, but it ends up being somewhat romantic. They do have some intimate moments, which, again, no, you don't get more out of somebody by not talking.
Right.
Like, she needed to be able to talk, so that kind of sucks. But she's still in a place where she's not really sure where his head's at, and they need to have this deep conversation this evening. Like, they need to be able to get past this next hurdle, and I don't know if they can. But we get to dinner. Neither of them really enjoyed the yoga. But regardless, but I thought he did a good job leading off with, look, I know we didn't have a one-on-one. I'm like, okay, good, address this, because last week when he talked to her sister about it, I didn't think it was great
No.
when he addressed it. So this is good that he's talking about it. And he's like, I just saw so much potential in you. And that's also what led to my theory of, all right, he sees like why they would line up together. He's
Yeah.
trying to get there with her.
We had such a good vibe that I needed to spend a lot of time with other women one-on-one before you to make sure that this was real.
What he could have said is like, I knew we had a connection, so I
Yeah.
didn't need the one-on-one date.
Right.
Like, fake it.
Yeah.
Something.
Make it till you make it.
But at least he addresses this whole thing. And they start discussing, like trying to get into stuff. And she makes a good point. It's like, I feel like it was kind of a good point. She's like, I feel like I've been opening up. I'm like, oh, when?
Yeah.
Because you've talked about a couple of things. When you did the hometowns, you did discuss your family a little bit. Your adopted parents had a problem with addiction, things like that. So you did open up slightly, but I haven't felt that like heartfelt conversation yet. So for her to say, I've opened up, it's your turn to open up. I'm like, you didn't really, but okay, cool. Flip it on Grant. Let's see what he's got.
Yeah, neither of you guys really opened up.
No, he said the same story he said.
And I think that, and she talked about this with the contestant before, going back to your hometowns when you had Grant come to New York, you did the whole wedding ceremony pictures.
Yeah.
And I love that the contestant was like, ugh, How'd that go?
yeesh.
Like, yeah, that's not great.
least she
You haven't even had a
acknowledges-
one-on-one with them.
But at least she acknowledges it too. She's like, yeah, it might be a little crazy. I don't know. Like,
and I like that she
self-aware.
did that. But otherwise, we haven't really seen a whole lot. So I don't think it's fair to put it on Grant and say, this is your chance to open up. It's
still
not
you.
a good strategy if you're
Still
trying
you.
to get picked.
Yeah.
You should be opening up way more because he's got 2 other women on his mind. You've got 1 guy on your mind.
Right.
You should be opening up, not finding out more about him. And I don't think that's really his forte. He wants to feel like
He's a
making
listener.
you Exactly. He wants you to feel comfortable and taking things out of you rather than him talking the whole time. That's not going to help.
100%. But what did do her a lot of favors is when they start talking about the future. And I think this is, again, I'm making my list of like why they make sense. It's like, I
Right.
want to build an empire with somebody. I'm like, I get that vibe from him where it's like, you know, the family's going to take on a whole different role where you want to like rule the world kind of deal. And she wants the same things there. The timeline works out. It's like, I want to travel. I want to experience life with you.
Yeah.
And then we can have kids. And he's like, boom, I want that too. I'm like, all right, she's making some headway here. Pretty good. And I thought that it was nice that he ended it with, you know, I might have forgotten about your favorite color because she drops that on him,
Mm-hmm.
which, again,
Unfair.
risky.
Yeah.
Risky because it's also pointing out, like, you don't even know what my favorite color is supposed to get married.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did you know what Grant's favorite color was?
no.
No.
So why? Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfair.
It's an unfair question, but I thought it was good bringing it back up. He's like, I might not know your favorite color, but and she was like, ah ha ha ha, Jesse Palmer sex card.
Yeah.
What do you think? And she's like,
Doing this?
I'm down. I feel the same way. Well, you've now said the same thing to Zach twice.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they go do their thing, and
Not spicy,
well, they said something.
but it wasn't spicy.
Yay?
It was just a
I
yay.
think it was a yay.
It was an ooh, but I think it was to the champagne.
Oh yeah, I would
We
assume.
pop the champagne, yay.
Well, I figured spicy was alluding to something spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
Like peppers?
Maybe.
maybe.
Interesting choice before being intimate, but hey, to each their own.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's just,
Mhm.
you know, PSA. But regardless, Kiss, I gave a 7.9 out of 10.
Okay.
I forgot
fair.
Juliana's Kiss, I gave it 8.3.
Fair.
Okay. I felt there's more Zoe. It's still, everything just feels a little guarded. It's just slightly guarded. But
Which is also fair.
given the lack of time they've spent together, it makes a lot of sense. And
Very fair.
you see it in the beach picnic in the morning.
Oh, dude, the beach picnic in the morning. This is what I want to kind of put against it, because we both agreed the Juliana morning after was very intimate, very normal, very organic.
Yep.
This was like, oh,
Business.
business. Yeah.
They're still
Like,
like,
hey, we're sitting down, we're still chatting, trying to get to know each other.
yeah.
And I think we did this last year with Jen too, when she was on her like 3 people.
With Jesse, it didn't fit, right?
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Jesse. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense. Like, you guys are still trying to figure out who each other are, sitting on the beach afterwards, and like, yeah, you're still, you know, you do the honeymoon suite and everything. I think it's great.
Just trying to say the right things.
But-
Everyone's trying to say the right things. How do
Yeah.
we grow? Like, we got this out of the
It's
way.
too rigid, and I don't.
I
You know,
didn't feel it.
just wasn't feeling it at all.
No, at the morning after is the most telling, I believe.
Mhm. But before we get to our third date of this episode, we want to drop in real quick and talk to you about our friends over at Wayfair. And I'm all in actually, on a full spring refresh, and I know that Wayfair's got my back. I am looking around my apartment. I feel like I'm almost there.
Yeah.
And anytime that I find something new that I want to get, anytime that I'm looking around and I could use a table over here or a lamp over here, maybe some art, maybe a mirror, big old mirror on the wall. Who doesn't like a mirror to just look at all day? Look at yourself.
Sure.
That's what a mirror's for.
Damn right.
Hell yeah. Wayfair's got us handled. And I know for a fact that every time I go to Wayfair, I'm going to have a multitude of options, and they're all going to be great options. It's going to take me so long to figure out exactly which one I want, but that is a good problem to have.
Yeah, and I look around the studio, and I want to make some changes in here. I want to get some clutter out of this room. And so you know what I thought would be really nice? A little record table with some storage underneath.
Hell yeah.
You know what the problem is with Wayfair?
What's that?
They have too many options.
They do. They do. And honestly, I never really know what style I'm going for, but Wayfair always helps me out with that because they have so many filters on the side too.
Mhm.
I can look through each filter and say, ooh, I kind of like this style.
Sure.
Maybe I want this style. How about this style? I can look through all of the different things, see all the different styles that are available to me, and Wayfair's got my back along the way. And you can head over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Now we'll get back to that third date with Litia.
And let's jump right into this whole thing because she's obviously uneasy with the conjugals or the fantasy suites, whatever you want to call them. And she talks to somebody This was the only one that I was like, okay, you can talk to her.
Yeah.
Because this is something very specific.
Mhm.
Whereas the other two, I'm like, you don't really know. Like, that conversation didn't have to happen.
No.
And if you lump all three conversations together, that's about 15 minutes of an episode that you don't need.
Correct.
Anyway, this conversation with Katie, who was in Zach's season, she's just picking her brain because she felt similar about the conjugal visits. I genuinely think they're called that now, fantasy suites.
Yep.
And Latia's just bouncing things off of her, trying to get comfortable with it. And then she drops the line, well, Zach said that, he's going to respect all of us and not have sex and not, I love that they all just say get intimate, not get intimate with any of the girls. And then during our date, he was like, just kidding. I totally banged, which I think that would throw anybody off.
Yeah, right.
And that's also probably a red flag. It's like, you can't even
Huge red
wait
flag.
a day, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a massive red flag to tell all three women, hey, that's off the table. I just want to get to know you guys even more, and I'm going to use this time to do that. And you don't expect them to either A, talk to each other, or B, watch the show and realize what's going on.
he told her.
I know. But that's part of it. But if he was going into it like, yeah, I'm not going to do this,
Oh,
and
I
then
see what
did
you're
it
saying.
anyway,
Yeah.
your future wife, whoever you actually propose to at the end of all of this, is going to see that.
And you lied to her right before you got engaged.
That's a good time to lie, right before you get married.
Well, what made me nervous with Litia is, I think it's totally fair to say, I don't want to talk about the other ladies. I don't want to hear what happened. Totally fine. But when she says, let's get mad later, it's like, oh, are you
Yeah.
going to be upset?
We're going to have months and months after this to discuss.
Yeah,
Like,
like,
ugh.
look, I get it's a weird situation, but
Yeah.
it's also what you signed up for on the show.
Just act like it didn't happen.
That's the
like if
correct
you're
move.
genuinely happy and all of this works out in your favor and you end up getting picked at the end and you get married to this guy that you say you love,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna just like hold his feet to the fire about
Because-
the game show that he was on.
Because he did what the game show pushes him to do. Like, I was like, oh no, like that's setting
We're
a
gonna
weird...
sit down. We're gonna do a PowerPoint presentation. I've actually got Parisa here to help me out. We're gonna go through everybody. These are AI generated images of you getting intimate with the other two women,
Oh God.
and also all of the women that you made out with. I want you to rate them all.
Explain them.
Yeah.
Explain to
Tell me
me.
how it went,
Yeah, now. Or we're
and
done.
compare it to what we've been doing for the last month.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it
That's
just...
that's the vibe that I got. I'm like,
No.
I don't like that.
I don't think you
No.
need to know.
Like you were good up until that point. I'm
Totally.
like, that fully makes sense to me.
You not wanting to have
Let's-
sex makes total sense.
Cool. Don't want to talk about the other women?
Great.
Great. Don't do it. Just act like it didn't happen. Try to ignore it. Be in your comfort place. Just find some peace. Get through it. Maybe get picked and move on with
And
your life.
forget about it.
Yeah.
Just entirely forget about this week, okay? But we get to Litia and Grant, and I mean, again, you can tell as soon as they see each other, it's like, yeah, they really, really do love each other,
Yeah.
I think. And they go ziplining, and I love that he says, it's dangerous. It's like, come on, you're ziplining in the
this on like
Dominican.
every reality TV show.
Yeah, it's not dangerous. You're gonna be fine. They're even double clipped.
You've done more dangerous things this season
You jumped off a
than
building.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not that dangerous. But
With another woman, by the way.
Oh.
Which,
we're gonna
Litia,
have to talk
you have
about
to
it.
talk about it.
We're gonna have to talk about that. But
I like to imagine their marriage, like years and years down the line, they're going to do something new. And she remembers that he did it with another woman on this show.
It just brings it up like randomly. Oh, is that
That'd be
what
great.
Juliana liked?
Yeah. This isn't your first time in Scotland, is it?
Oh, this castle's beautiful. You've hung out in castles with other women. Like, I don't look.
Their first Renaissance fair together.
Oh God,
That was your first one with the other women.
with the other
I
ladies.
saw you go over and go talk to, what was the girl who caused all the problems?
Uh,
An S, I can't-
Carolina.
Carolina S. Wow.
Yeah.
That shows you how much I remember.
yeah, nice.
The
Attaboy.
last couple of weeks, yeah.
But I don't want to paint a picture that she's jealous. I don't think that she's like
No,
a
it's
jealous
just the
person.
vibe
It's
I got,
just
like-
like it was a strange way to intro the date. But they go ziplining. She almost throws up, and again repeats. I don't know if I'm ready for the intimacy in a like confessional or a side conversation, whatever. I think that was just to the side.
She did it every confessional.
Yeah, she
It
kept.
was legit. That's the thing that when it started to wear thin on me, when it started to feel like a long episode, was every time we went to a confessional with her. And I get that it's a big issue.
Huge.
You can talk about other things.
Mhm.
You can just say how much fun you're having with Grant, how much fun you want to have with Grant. Don't keep bringing this up because I thought that after a while, I'm like, why are we doing this still? Why are we even going to her confessionals anymore? She's not saying anything different.
Yeah, we know where she stands.
Yeah.
And she's again well within her right to
For
stand
sure.
there.
This is more of an editing thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. But we get to like a little oasis. What are they called? Cenote.
Whoa.
Miami.
Look at you.
Little Housewives of Miami when they went to the cenote.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Call back. But as they're in the cenote, they're talking about hometowns, and, he was nervous, but everyone was really accepting, and the family told Litia that Grant had asked would she be willing to leave Utah.
He probably should have asked her, but,
You
it's
should have
fine.
asked her, but also, like, you were in Wyoming.
Yeah.
You went to her family, so,
Oh, yeah, wait, right?
She
did say Utah on this scene, right?
maybe it was a trip. Maybe that's like a vacation. That's their vacation home, probably.
How about
You
that?
sure you don't want to marry her?
Yeah. I don't know. Does he? I don't know.
He's talking about wanting to be close to his family. His dad is in rehab in Jersey, which made me nervous that he's then in the Bahamas if he's supposed to be in rehab. But that's a whole different story for a whole different podcast. But anyway.
Yeah, but her reaction, like, oh, we could go live in New
Yeah,
York.
we go live in New York.
Like, okay.
Like, all right, you're agreeable.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, fine. You guys can move. You can bop around, figure out where to go. But their conversation after all of that, like, really shows where they are, because then it started to feel much more relaxed. They started to talk about feelings. Litia feels very strongly, like, I just want to be with you.
Yeah.
And this whole thing got a lot harder because of these feelings. I didn't expect this to happen, and now that it is happening, I don't want to lose you, which is sweet. It's a sweet
Very
sentiment.
fair.
And Grant, he's like, look, I don't want this week to affect you. It's like, it's gonna, because it's awkward as shit. We all are avoiding this conversation. We know what's gonna happen. And she's really concerned with how he's going to react to not wanting to get intimate, which I wasn't worried. I figured he was going to do right by her and handle it with grace, which he does eventually. But let's get to dinner. And she's still really stuck on the other ladies, which is fair. But how do you feel overall that the dinner portion went?
I don't know. I just, this is probably part of why I texted you, that I was like, I don't really like where this is going.
Yeah, you said you don't trust her.
I don't really trust her, and I think it was just, there was a ton of, it wasn't like the agreeability, because Grant's always agreeable, but she was talking so much about family and like all of these values, and over and over and over again. I got the vibe that she is going to control his life.
Oh, really?
Like, you're going to do this with me. You're going to do this with me. We're going to talk about this. Like, I got that whole vibe.
Interesting.
And I feel like he's kind of blinded by whatever it is that makes him love her. And I don't know what it is, because we've only seen so many snippets. But I got just a very off vibe about it. Like, hey, you better choose me.
Interesting.
Like, I'm gonna make your life a living hell if you don't choose me, is what I got.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that flipped a lot.
Yeah, it flipped a lot. I just don't know what it was. And I don't really think that she said anything super specific that indicated that to me. It's just a vibe that I got.
Was it? I'm looking through my notes to like pinpoint where that would have
I just
happened.
didn't like it. I think it was probably the first time that they've been out on a dinner
Where
date
you weren't like an
where I wasn't like, oh, this is like,
This makes
clearly an easy pick.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was like, oh, this is a little odd. And look, maybe it's just because things are getting so real for her now
that could be it.
that she's now kind of like pressing down. And
Yeah,
in the past,
perhaps.
she's just been kind of like airy and bubbly, and now she's like, ooh,
Now it's serious.
very
now it's, like,
serious. And
maybe
like, maybe that's how you should handle this, honestly.
in
I
real
don't
life,
fucking know.
probably.
Probably,
This
yeah.
is how it's gonna be.
But yeah, I got a weird vibe. I get like a ominous vibe from it.
Interesting. That's interesting. But we get to the conjugal visit letter. Hey, what do you want to do with this? And I think you're a great guy with great intentions. I don't feel comfortable because there's other women involved. So sex is not on the table. Of course, Grant's like, I respect your decision. Absolutely, no problem. I love you. I love you too. Big. First,
I thought she was gonna decline the visit.
I did too. That was the vibe I got.
I was like, okay, so she's putting it down.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing this. She's gonna go to her own room.
That's what I thought.
I thought that for a while, and then when he said, "Look, I love you," and she returned it, then I felt like she was like, "Okay, yeah, I do trust you."
Do you think that he said I love you to get her to go to the room?
Yes.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. No.
Damn.
No, I think this is the first love, and we've watched this before. There's always one in the final three that the Bachelor or Bachelorette says, "I do love you,"
Yeah.
and then the other one is, "I'm falling
in
for
love
you."
with you.
Yeah. So you got to kind of
The
differentiate.
third one is I
between
hope
those
we
two.
can find love soon.
I hope we can get to know each other soon.
Yeah.
At some point. This is more like a, par for the course type of situation, but I felt like that was a reaction to, I want to make sure that she trusts me enough to stay,
Sure.
because I do think that, and I think Litia is a special case, because in the past, if somebody had declined the conjugal visit, it would be, well, no, you're done.
Yeah,
Not getting a
probably.
rose the next time. So you still have to have that because look, it's not just about sex, as they say. You can't build a relationship off of that. But you do get another 8 hours, some of it sleeping, to discuss things and get to know each other a
And,
little
like,
bit more.
without the cameras there, you really get to talk
Yeah.
and really see if you actually can hang.
Yeah.
I think that it's more like, obviously, look, it's not all about sex. Is that important in a relationship? Yeah. Like, you have to be able to make sure you're compatible and all
Mhm.
that. But at the same time, when I think about like fantasy suites, I'm not even that concerned about the sex part of it.
Right.
For me, it's more so it's like you guys have 8 to 10 hours of no cameras.
Yeah.
Can you vibe together when you're just hanging out?
Right.
Like, is it going to be awkward? Are we going to see a breakfast like Juliana, where it's like you guys clearly had a fun time?
Mhm.
Or we're gonna see a breakfast like we had with Zoe, where it's like, wow, you guys still aren't there yet.
Right.
Like, I think that's the most important part about those nights, and I'm glad that she went to the room, and I'm glad that he respected her, and
But
I'm
I think
glad
it's
that
still like the basis of their relationship is making sure that she's comfortable.
that seems to be.
That's what I get from it.
But maybe that's what he wants.
Maybe that is what he wants.
know?
And look, if you're a big acts of service type of guy, maybe that's what he's into. But that's what I got. And the morning after was, here's all this breakfast food. And I know he just got it from room service. He didn't
But
actually
you
make
think
it.
that's like a
That wasn't a good, like, I don't even think that he knew if she was joking. Did you catch that?
no?
And she's like, oh, you cooked all of this? Like, you're so good at making breakfast.
She was
And then
joking.
nobody laughed.
She was joking.
I know she was joking,
do
but
you-
he didn't laugh at that.
So
So, like, does he not think that's a joke?
According to you, what that was, like him bringing her breakfast, was just a glimpse into his future of
think
doing
so.
everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, and I don't think that she's asking for that, but I think he's just going to do it.
Okay. All right.
It's a weird vibe. It's just, and
I
look,
agree. There's
I think-
something there. I left that date way differently than I have felt about Litia in the past.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I mean, this whole season has been Grant making sure that everybody feels comfortable.
Sure.
Now he's just gotten to the point where you look at Juliana and it's like kind of more of a partnership. Like they're
It
kind of leaning on
seems
each
to
other
be
and
back and
chatting and
forth.
back and forth.
Okay.
And then
yes.
Litia seems to be Grant constantly reassuring her, like, hey, it's going to be okay.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird.
That's a good way to break it down.
Maybe
agree
he
with
likes
you.
that. And again, that's fine.
I agree with you, but we're already at breakfast with Litia, as you just said, and as they're leaving, I don't know if Grant's getting cold feet or if he's like, "Oh fuck, I said I love you to her last night." Like, I'm not really. Something happened in that moment where he's
Yeah.
like, "Oof," but then I wasn't taking it the same way because he's like, "Should I just pick Litia now? Like, I'm falling for somebody else, but I
Yeah.
don't know." And immediately when he said that, I was like, "All right, so Juliana's getting through, sweet."
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a different vibe. It's a different vibe. And
Very
so
different.
We get to the rose ceremony, and part of me's rooting for Zoe just because I feel bad.
Mhm.
I'm like, there's no way that Zoe
There's
gets
just
picked.
zero chance that she was getting
It
picked.
just
after
didn't
all
make any
that.
sense after watching the other two dates.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so much further along than she was.
Yeah.
So Litia and Juliana get picked, and I thought Zoe handled it extremely well.
Mhm.
And I wish her nothing but the best in her future endeavors. Did you notice, and maybe this is the alcoholic in me, Grant's face the next morning when he woke up? A little puffy.
Oh, was it a
I
little
think the guy
puffy?
got after it. I
Ah,
think at
good.
that night he was like, fuck, I need a drink.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Now, was this the next day after the Litia date, or was there another day in between?
I think it was
Him
the
and Jesse,
day
like, get out?
after the rose ceremony.
Okay, all right.
Is what I thought. It's right before he went to go see his parents.
Yeah.
So I think it's the day after the rose
He's
ceremony.
looking in the mirror.
Yeah, when he's like trying to like straighten up in the morning, I was like, I think that you got after it last night a little bit.
Yeah.
Understandably so, sir. But he goes to talk to his parents,
And if he
and
gets to hang out with anybody, like aside from Jesse,
well, his family's there. It's like, can they kick it when they're there?
I hope.
Yeah, is he supposed to stay?
I
in the
meant
room
like
the
your
whole time?
future fiance potentially. Like
I always wonder.
they're
about
still
that.
there.
Are
Like
you
if
allowed
there's
to spend
another
time?
day in between, like, hey, let me hit up Juliana and be like, hey, I'm hitting the hotel bar and I'm gonna hit the beach. You want to come?
Yeah, I don't know what the rules
More
are.
time.
But that would also, again, if we're restructuring the show, let's see those times.
Yeah.
Just have a camera follow Grant.
Right.
Like, that would be fun. But I love his dad because he's so blunt.
Yeah.
He's like, man, how are you gonna choose? He's like, I don't fucking know, Dad. Like, I'm not sure.
It's kind of what I'm here for.
Yeah, that's the whole point, and I'm
I'm hoping
struggling.
that you would have some advice.
Any insight?
No, nothing.
Sounds really tough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I like
It
to
is.
glimpse into next week too, when obviously it's 3 hours, so we're gonna get a lot of this. Him sitting down with his parents. His mom was like, "You better, as your mom, I'm asking you to not do that.
It's a step away from this.
Step away from this."
But
It's like,
what is that
like?
for?
They always do that. They
Yeah.
always set it up like that. Is it the show? Is it like, hey, this is fucking weird? Step away from all this
It's
shit.
probably
Is it Litia and the Mormon family?
no,
Like, hey, I need you to get away from that.
no,
Is it Juliana and the fact that she had a 7-year relationship where he was cheating on her the whole time
No.
and she's insecure? What do you think it is?
I'm 99.9% sure it's you don't need to take care of us anymore. Go live your life. You need to step away
You're
from this.
probably right.
Yeah. That's what the vibe I get, where it's like
Yeah.
you're always worried about your dad, you're worried about me.
Well, I mean, I know that for a fact with when his mom asks Juliana, like, are you in love with my son? And she like hesitates.
yeah, she's
I
gonna
know she's gonna be like, yes.
she's gonna yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes is
Mhm.
the follow up to that. But yeah, I would imagine it's something regarding the family where it's like you've done your job, go live your life.
Yeah, you're probably so right.
Thanks, man. But one episode left.
Yep.
One episode, 3 hours long for
One
some
supersized
fucking
episode.
crazy reason. And we got time for one question here. What do we got?
One question. Let's pick a good one. Let's do this one from it's Angela. Hey Angela. Litia seems so sweet, but did you guys also see a kind of bratty vibe during ziplining?
Heyo, weren't the only
Oh.
ones that clocked it.
Yep. There's something there.
Something shifted during
And
that.
it's funny
date.
because like even during the ziplining, it felt a little weird, but like I didn't catch a bratty vibe, and like,
No.
I'm not denying that.
No, but it did
Something's
seem
off.
something changed in Litia
Yeah.
that date, and maybe can we chalk it up to conjugal visits? I don't know.
I think realistically, it's conjugal visits, and we're getting close to the end.
Yeah,
It's really pressing.
I think next week's going to be very telling.
Yeah,
I hope it's telling
I hope it's telling.
because then you get engaged, and then it's
Yeah.
like too late.
Then you got to figure that out.
Yeah,
Get
especially
the-
get
Get the
married.
government involved. Yeah.
Oof, oof. That's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
Well, that's our show. Bros gotta go.